You are listening to Keep Canada Weird, a weekly weird news roundup by the Nighttime Podcast.
Hello, listeners, and welcome back to the next Keep Canada Weird episode. If you're new to this, Keep Canada Weird is an ongoing series in which my pal Aaron and I promise to seek out and explore some of the more interesting Canadian news stories of the past week. And in tonight's episode, we make good on our promise. We're going to share stories about possessive cats, a naked man, a TikTok shooting, and the Queen of Canada. So let's get to it. How you doing, Aaron?
Hey, Jordan. Hello.
We made it.
We're here together, and we made it, and we're stronger, and we're more focused, and we're ready, and we're eager, and we are precious.
Yeah, we might as well relaunch the whole show. Just because I think the hype's here. Do you want to just relaunch it?
This is the first episode of our new precious podcast.
Yeah, and we're gonna keep Canada weird here. I think we've done it. We've kept it weird so far. I feel like we could do three of these a week, though. What's happening now is I'm getting a lot more people sending messages on Facebook, being like, this has happened here and this has happened there, which is awesome.
Look out! That's over there.
That's over there, but it's
look out behind you, Jordan.
Yeah, but it's I've already and what happens, like, maybe I don't need to obsess about this and organize so much, but things that are happening today that I've come across, I'm like, we can't talk about them yet. They have to be in next week's episode. So I'm like, yeah. So
sometimes you want a story to air a little bit too, like
lay
out for a couple days so that you can see how it works out. Yeah,
and see what happens. So before we get into our topics and what's been going on, why don't we talk about what's going on with you? What's been up this week?
What's been up this week? It's been the usual. We've had a bit of a winter blast here in the Nova Scotia, as you suffered as well. It's been we had a freezing rainstorm. It was about 24 hours of freezing rain, I think. We had kind of land on top of us. Mm-hmm. Power outages everywhere, so including myself. So back online now. So.
And it well, let's just be transparent. It messed with the production of the show because we have this idea for in the future, if we go to kind of we're going to break it up into segments. So when we get to crime, there's going to be like almost like a separate part of the show where we'll talk about a crime. If there's a guest, it's going to be like a separate segment. So there's going to be shows within this show. It all would have been ready for tonight, but Nova Scotia Power collaborated with Mother Nature and basically blew Aaron's house down.
Yeah, metaphorically, yes.
Ice storm was pretty wild. I don't know how bad we're like 5-hour drive apart from each other, but here it was like the morning after I had like probably a half an inch, like a centimeter of solid ice that surrounded my entire car. I had to run out to grab something. And I thought like, I'll have to scrape off the windshield and get in the car. It literally took me probably 25 minutes to like carve around the door and pulling on it. And I found one door that had a left side, to get in. And then once I got in the car, I just turned the heat on and sat in the car for like a half hour and slowly melted my way out. But it was, And then today we had a ton of rain, but since the city and my yard and everything else is still covered in ice, it just turned into like basically a flooded like skating rink. My poor mother, who listens to my podcast and watches my show, so maybe she's here, but just last night, my poor mother, she was going to pick up something from a pet store for her dog, and she fell and she bumped her head.
No way.
So yeah, she's all right though, but she's there are talks of a massive lawsuit between her and the pet store, so maybe we'll cover
the pet
that.
Store. It sounds like the pet store is fully engaged with her, and there's talks between the two of them. Like,
she's
the pet store is encouraging her for the lawsuit.
Her and a group of her friends are outside right now, laying on the horns, and it's so something's gonna get done over there.
Yeah.
Do you get that joke?
Yeah, I got the joke.
They're doing a convoy at where my mom fell.
Yeah.
Well, let's get on with it. We got and this is how we'll do this. Before we jump into our stories, let's first get caught up with feedback from prior episodes that the listeners contributed. The first thing I have, I'm going to read you. This is I guess I'll call it an email. It came through a subscriber of the premium feed named Kinsey. So it's a message I got through Patreon. And this is a nice one. It says, "Hi, Jordan. I just wanted to reach out and say that... Oh, it starts with a compliment. Hi, Jordan. I just wanted to reach out and say that Nighttime is by far one of my most enjoyed podcasts, and I've been a long-time listener. Also, I thought it was funny in a recent weekly news episode where I believe you mentioned your grandma would feed crows and they would gather regularly at dinner time. Well, we had a similar situation, but it was less cute and much more bloody. My family would feed the crows here in Minnesota, and the crows eventually started bringing us small dead animals and putting them in our bird bath as a thank you. Then they would use the bread we gave them to dip in the bird bath like some kind of macabre sauce. Most of my family thought it was horrible, but I did definitely appreciate their intelligence and their personalities, especially since I didn't have to clean up the bloody mixture. Anyway, I hope that wasn't too gory, and keep on with the great show."
So it seems like if a listener or viewer wants their email read on the air, they have to compliment you first at the very top of the message.
Well, that's certainly a good way to get it done.
That grabs your attention. It's like, "Jordan,
Yeah.
I love your face. Anyway, there's a bunch of blood in my backyard."
And there's animals eating the blood.
Yeah, and they're asking me to join them.
That definitely
Anyway,
helps.
I love your smile. Always listening. Lucifer.
I like how crows have somehow became kind of crows and donuts. That wasn't our intention, but that's kind of the
And
subplots.
potatoes.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
do you remember last week? I think it was last week. We talked about the company. I think they were called Simply, and they were the ones who offered someone, the world's most gullible person, a free doorbell, and ended up sneaking a $13,000 furnace contract and furnace into her hands and home. You remember that story?
I remember it because I also chatted about it with some friends separately outside of the episode as well. The topic came up. And
how would that topic come up?
Because I think we were talking, it was, our mutual friend Donnie, who's in the chat right now. We were talking with another friend of ours and it came up.
Okay. I thought you were talking I thought a friend was like,
No, it wasn't brought up in an organic kind of, hey, someone tried to give me a free doorbell and then I ended up buying a spaceship from them.
Yeah, they had the spaceship outside. It was
I was signing so the mothership came down and I signed a contract and now I have my own ship.
Well, let's get so with this company Simply, that I don't know if that's their full name was Simply. It was Simply something, but
Simply Home Green Energy Planet
something.
Forest.
Well, we're gonna get a glimpse behind the curtain that exists there. We have, let's call it an inside source from within Simply. This is an ex-employee, and they're ready to spill the tea on what actually happens with Simply. I guess we'll call this spilling tea. Here it comes.
I hope the voicemail starts with a compliment.
I worked for those Simply guys in Ottawa a couple of years back, and it was pretty horrendous when I saw it. Didn't last long. So, as an installer, working, as an installer, it was pretty awful. But I should have known that it was a job offered off a Kijiji thing, and I just got to town. I needed some dough. But, pretty bad. Pretty bad when I realized what it was all about. Thanks. Thank you.
It was like the double goodbye.
I like that.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah,
Let
thanks.
the first goodbye marinate a little bit.
And they go, thank you.
Thank you. It was almost like you just had to kind of think about, did I say goodbye? Thank you.
Well, I know because that was sent through the app on my website where you can send a voice memo, and I just have a feeling he was probably a little confused on how to turn it off or something because I heard him go he goes, thanks. And then you kind of hear like just a bit of like tapping. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So
Maybe
that was
the
our-
thank you wasn't even related to you. It was maybe somebody was giving him a drink at a restaurant or something
Could
as
be.
he was,
Or
thank
he's
you
like,
for my drink.
can I borrow your phone so I can go to nighttimepodcast.com and send a voice memo to give some insider dirt on Simply? Someone's like, sure, you can use my phone. He takes their phone, does it, leaves the message, thanks. And then as he's passing it back, he didn't know it was still running. So thank you. Here's your phone back. Regardless, though, that was a pretty intimate and damning portrayal of a company that seems to feed off the vulnerable and
Well, I would say
the down and out.
this is a whistleblower type situation.
Yeah. And it seems like they're preying on people on Kijiji. He answered a Kijiji ad, was new in town, and he needed money, but it was horrendous.
Yeah, well,
So there's my review.
we heard it from the horse's mouth. I think now that this company is not on the F rating they had from the Better Business Bureau is accurate.
Yeah. Imagine they listened and we got sued for this. This would be if I ever.
Well,
end the
imagine you
podcast,
got sued. I won't get sued.
If we do, we should definitely mic up when we go to court and stuff. Could you imagine having him testify in our defense? Thank you, to the judge.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, my defense will be just throwing you under the bus for the entire thing.
Yeah.
He just sends me the stories 5 minutes before we record, Your Honor.
25 minutes.
Well.
All right. Well, let's see if maybe we'll cover that in a future episode. I want Malky Woodland to be my lawyer. And when we enter the courtroom, I want Tanetta to perform live.
You don't take the law seriously, do you?
And
that's your downfall.
And I want an army of trucks behind us, supporting us in our ability to say this kind of nonsense.
I'll just be there. I'll be dressed business casual, and I'll be respectful, and I will absolutely listen to everything that my lawyer and the judge has to say, and I will take their decision, and I will live with it.
All right. Well, hopefully that day doesn't come, but let's get to the stories here. So we have a collection of stories that this week I think they're all set in Western Canada, which is strange. And this isn't planned. We had 1 week where it was like all PEI. This week I think is all BC. BC, yeah, with a slight detour to Ottawa. So I'm going to give you a choice, Aaron, and you can kind of pick the order. We can talk about possessive cats, naked guy in a car, gangs in India involving TikTok and a shooting in BC, or I could tell you a little bit about the Queen of Canada.
I feel like the Queen of Canada should be later. That's a juicy one, I find.
That gets a little fringe too. So yeah, let's save that for later when I'm almost at the end of this pop and we're going. Let's start with something light. Well, let's start with cats.
Yeah, cats. Let's ease into the episode with a nice cat story.
The story about the BC cats that claimed the Vitamix box as their forever home. Is this a story that was new to you? Did you know this before I sent this to you?
I knew it before, yeah. The past couple of weeks, I've been seeing this pop up randomly in different news outlets, so I was somewhat familiar with the story.
On the couch or under the table, these are the usual spots cats tend to claim, but then there are the unusual. In the case of the Gerson-Neves household, it's here, on top of this Vitamix box.
It arrived on December 16th. I grabbed the box and set it down on the kitchen floor just for a quick second. That was almost a month ago. And Max immediately hopped up.
Gerson-Neves pulled out her phone to snap a picture.
Because I'm a cat person and we take pictures every time they sneeze.
Then she and her wife, Nikki, decided to post it to this Facebook page, thinking a few people might see it and get a chuckle out of it, and that Max would soon lose interest and they could open the blender.
I was wrong on both counts. 10,000 people had interacted with the post by the next day. And While Max had jumped down, Lando was now on the Vitamix.
In the time since, the shifts haven't stopped, and neither has the interest.
People were demanding updates.
All of it now being documented here on their Facebook page, day by day, week by week, and now into 2022. Posting for all those hoping or predicting a new start in the dawn of the new year, sadly you will have to look elsewhere, because ApplianceGate continues unabated. But it's not for lack of trying.
Dear Vitamix.
The couple drafted an open letter to the company asking for it to send along 3 empty Vitamix boxes.
I figured that they would know what was going on and get a giggle out of it.
The team mobilized so fast as soon as we saw it because we realized this is such a fun story, and we wanted to make sure that we could get Jessica and Nikki those boxes for decoys in order to get them to blend as soon as possible.
The first box marked Lies was put out, but it didn't go over well with the cats or their more than 23,000 followers.
Universally, the response was, oh my God, no, drag this out.
And it's not hard to see why.
There is so much going on, and it is almost universally negative. Find joy where it lives. And at the moment, where it lives is in our kitchen on a Vitamix box.
Did you see any of the videos, or did you just read it?
Yeah, I saw some of the videos over the past, I don't know, few weeks or whatever that I've been seeing the story pop up. I mean, cats are super territorial, and I'm sure like they're probably not as interested in the new boxes because this box probably has the smell like completely from them, you know, putting their pheromones on it or whatever they're doing. So I think probably the newer boxes aren't going to be as important as the original box is.
Yeah, that's true. And I think it's also just like I could see this in my kids as sometimes it's not about the object or the toy or whatever it is, but it's more just about like they want it and it's theirs. And I wonder if cats get like, would a cat get like that? Just be like,
I think
I have it and I don't want you to take it.
You know, who runs the place? You know, there is a hierarchy. If you have multiple cats living together, there's you know, the alpha, then there's, you know, all the rungs below it. So I think it's been established with these cats that whoever sits atop the original box owns the house. And their smell is all over it, and it's all about trying to assert dominance with that box.
One of the cats they refer to as the sentient soccer ball, which is pretty cute because I'm looking at a picture of the cat, and it's a black and white cat that is kind of patched in such a way that it does kind of look like a soccer ball. And I'm sure that's where they came up with that name.
I remember you used to have that T-shirt that was soccer ball, soccer moms.
Yeah, it was like a play on I love soccer moms, but it was a soccer ball.
But instead of the heart was the soccer ball.
I wonder where that shirt went. Do you ever think like it's weird how I have a lot of my like favorite shirts that I would never throw away, but they're not in my drawer anymore. I don't know.
Yeah, I've tossed mine away as they just get stained and ripped and whatever. I've had shirts that I've loved, but like T-shirts, like I wear them under other shirts so much that they start to, you know, just get stained. And then like I used to wear this is graphic, but I used to wear like antiperspirant a lot.
And that ruins your shirts, right?
And that just destroyed, because I love black T-shirts, you know, and I know you used to wear or still do wear black T-shirts all the time. So
I'm like Johnny Cash. I wear I don't know if you know the song The Man in Black, but I wear black for the poor and the beaten down is always
that's the only reason you do it. Yeah.
But anyway, go on.
Yeah, so I made the switch to just regular deodorant. So
and
my
that's a
T-shirts,
game changer.
Oh, it's a huge. I was really really fooled by big deodorant convincing me that antiperspirant did anything. So I was always so afraid to stop using antiperspirant. I'm like, I'm going to sweat way more because I'm not wearing antiperspirant. It's not true. It does nothing.
It makes absolutely no difference. If anything, I find antiperspirant just makes me feel weird afterwards, where deodorant just kind of like goes on and you don't even realize it's there, and it doesn't ruin your clothes. But it's hard to buy.
I love the switch. I'm a couple of years now into it, and I'm like, look at my shirts. None of them have white stains on them.
Yeah. But antiperspirant dominates the market. I find when I go places, if I'm ever buying it, I'm often having a hard time or having to pay more to get just deodorant. Or there'd be like, 25 different versions of an antiperspirant and 3 deodorants. So I think people don't know. So maybe this is a good kind of like public address to let people know that they don't need to just go with antiperspirant. If you've been buying it for 20 years and that's what you just feel obligated, take the chance.
It's a total mental thing. Like we think it's preventing us from, or at least we think it's reducing how much we're sweating. It's not at all. Mm-mm. There's no difference between how much I sweat wearing antiperspirant and just regular deodorant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
we
and I can attest
from
the cats. Let's talk about this part of the cat story, though. Is that the owners of the cats? They write to Vitamix explaining the situation and ask for like empty boxes. That was a perfect opportunity for Vitamix to like work out like an ad or something. Like, this is a great story.
Mm-hmm.
But they did send the boxes, but they should have, I don't know, they could have kind of capitalized on it, I think. But one issue or one thing that may have been an issue is in that article I read, it mentioned that they have like a Facebook page for the cats. And when I saw the video version of that article, like a global news video kind of piece showing the cats and all this stuff, every time it showed the Facebook page, I noticed they had a section of it like blacked out, like censored. You know what I mean? And I was like, why would they censor it? Like, is it maybe like her kid's name or something? Like, why would they censor it? Then when in researching, finding the Facebook page, which I guess is research nowadays going on.
It's a small amount of research.
Yeah, I was doing research. The name of the Facebook page actually has the F word in it.
Oh.
Yeah, I think like it had the word cluster F, something like that. So that could be the reason why they haven't been able to partner with Vitamix. I don't know.
Well, Vitamix draws a line somewhere.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to the next topic, but we don't need to go far. We're going to still stay in BC one way or another. We can go to a dumb crime in Surrey, BC, or just an absolute weird story in Nanaimo, BC.
That's the car one, right? You're talking about?
Yeah, you want to get into that?
Yeah, let's dive into that one.
Okay, because this is another one, just like the cat. This is another one where I received multiple people suggesting this would be a good fit for Keep Canada Weird, and I can't agree more.
A few people can say they've driven around for 3 days and failed to notice a naked stowaway in the trunk of their car. But a Nanaimo woman can, and while she's laughing about it, now the discovery was terrifying.
Why are you in my trunk, and are you naked?
Yeah.
What?
It's a rite of passage.
Earlier this week, Bethany Coker, who happens to be a Red Seal diesel mechanic, noticed mud in the front seat of her car. The obvious conclusion was someone had been sleeping in her vehicle. She cleaned the upholstery and moved on. Then 3 days later, she noticed the windows were fogged up and heard a voice say, "Hey." That's when she found the naked man in her trunk and quickly realized that it wasn't a prank.
Well, at first I thought someone was playing a prank on me, and then when I realized what was happening, I just kept my phone recording because I wasn't too sure what was going to happen. Like, I had no idea who this guy was. I didn't know if he was dangerous, and he'd been in my trunk for 3 days and didn't say a single word. We'd been to the grocery store together, we got sushi together, we got gas together, like he'd been to work with me twice, like not a single word.
RCMP attended. They say the man has significant health issues and he's now in a place where he can receive the help he needs.
a pretty wild story. I put it for people watching the live stream recording. I put a photo up on the screen where on one side you see a photo that she took of him kind of peeking out naked from behind the back seat, and the second photo is the police actually removing the naked man from the trunk.
The naked man.
I don't know if it's funny or sad. It's definitely
it's
weird.
kind of it's a bit of a mixture, because obviously, you know, the individual naked in the trunk is suffering from something. You know, that the police said that they were receiving attention for. So it sounds that this individual probably was struggling before, you know, deciding to camp out in the trunk of this woman's car. So,
and then how do you get in? She must have just left it open. I saw the photo as well of the front seat. They talk about how on one day she found a bunch of mud on her front seat. It looked like someone with like muddy boots like stood on her passenger seat on the front. So he must have just like got in one day and worked his way back there, maybe to go to sleep, and just, I don't know, just stayed in there.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, could he have gotten into the car, popped the trunk from inside the car, and then crawled into the trunk and then closed it once he was in there?
And got stuck? Oh, that's possible. But if he did the way the article makes it sound is that he stayed in the car without leaving for 3 days, going along with her and stuff. Unless he had water and stuff, you know, he'd be in trouble, wouldn't he? Unless he spoke up finally when he was in trouble and like went, hey.
Maybe that was, yeah, could have been what he was doing in a different way. But I'm sure getting into the trunk, thinking about how he was going to survive or how long he was going to be there, wasn't really on his mind by the sounds of it.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's the idea of this story reminds me of a few other ones. For one, it's we can talk about this light because nothing happened. He ended up getting to where he needed to go, which is like law enforcement will take him to, you know, a hospital to get treated for whatever the problem is that led to this. She got a scare, but not one that seemed so traumatic that she wasn't willing to like film it and put it up online and go on the news talking about it. And, you know, it seems like she's making jokes about it. So in the end, it seems like a happy ending. But this kind of reminds, do you know what I mean by like the Elisa Lam story? She was a young woman from Montreal, I believe, who suffered mental health problems. And she went to the United States, I think to, unless I'm mistaken, I think San Francisco. And she went missing from a hotel. And there was a search for her, and the only trail she had left behind was CCTV footage of her getting in an elevator and like pushing all the buttons on the elevator in this hotel and kind of like doing this weird kind of almost looked like she was dancing. She was stretching all weird and peeking around like kind of paranoid looking. And that's the last footage of her. So of course that video started circulating and the case gained a bunch of attention. And they didn't know where she was or if she was being followed and why she pressed all the buttons. They eventually people who were staying in this hotel, it's called the Cecil Hotel. There's actually a documentary about it on Netflix. People who stay in the hotel had been complaining in the days after of foul taste in the water and a foul smell in the water or low water pressure. The hotel eventually sent someone on the roof to inspect their like big tanks.
I did see this now that you're explaining it. Yeah, I did see this.
And they ended up finding her inside one of the water compartments. So the people who been staying in this hotel had been drinking that water, bathing in it. But no one really knows how she got in the water container thing. But there's a small little door on the top. So kind of the theory is that she was going through some kind of mental health thing and just crawled in there and couldn't get out. And when I first heard this story, I was like, it's like he kind of just like crawled, like maybe he just crawled in some little hole. And fortunately, you know, it wasn't an abandoned car in a lot somewhere. And he was able to ask for help or at least get her attention and get help.
Right. The thing that, you know, on the lighter side of this story that I think about, she's driving around in the car for 3 days without knowing that he's in the trunk. And I know if you want to see the most unfiltered version of myself, it's when I'm driving alone in my car. And the things I'm saying to myself, the things I'm saying to the people passing by, the names I'm calling them, all the things that I'm saying that I'm convinced nobody is listening to me right now. And I don't talk to myself when I'm home alone, but when I'm in the car, I do all of the time. And I say anything and everything. So I'm just wondering if other people are like this, and if so, is she? And, if there's somebody in your trunk, like, yeah, I was naked in the trunk for 3 days, but you're not going to believe what I heard this woman saying.
Yeah, the guy driving that car is an asshole.
Yeah,
Get me out of this
He's an idiot. Excuse me. I was going to try and live here forever, but can you let me out at the next stop?
Well, he too has a story to tell. It would be interesting to get them both on the show. Like, she could come on. I wrote her a message, but she hasn't responded yet. She's probably gotten a lot of weird messages over the last few days, so I'm probably low on the list. But I wrote her asking her to tell us the story, and it would be cool to get her point of view of like how it all went down and how it made her feel and stuff. But then it would also be cool to talk to him and see what he has to say about it. But
yeah,
I have a feeling that isn't going to happen on a follow-up episode.
Well, you never know. Stranger things, my friend.
That's true. Well, you ready to move on?
Yeah, I'm always ready to move on.
Okay. We got another story in BC, and this is going to be, I think, a reoccurring segment that we'll do, which is sort of going to be like dumb criminals, stupid crime, pointless crime. The only rules I guess we'll have is that no one can really get hurt. Property can be damaged and things can be stolen, but no one can really be physically hurt or traumatized in any extreme way. So that'll be our only rule.
A gunman shooting up a vehicle parked outside a Surrey home. Shared on TikTok, the text in the video appears to threaten a popular Punjabi musician, and a note left behind warning that they're going to target his friends' homes all over the world, including this one in Surrey.
These all the gunshots.
But the thing is, the homeowner says he has nothing to do with the intended target.
It's really hard, man. It's totally scary.
Sukhjit Garcha was woken up just before 3 a.m. early Wednesday morning to the sound of gunfire.
Families are shocking too. Yeah, they're scared now. My kids are really scared. 1, 2, 3.
He went downstairs to find 7 bullet holes pierced through the balcony window and walls, one through his garage door, and several into his vehicle parked outside. He's owned this place for only 4 months and lives here with his wife, 3 daughters, his father, and grandmother. None of them were injured.
Is it a miracle that nobody was injured?
Yeah, it's a miracle, yeah.
But it was close. His grandmother sleeping on the couch that night, and just on the other side of this window, the gunman was shooting up the vehicle.
Guys was in the driveway shooting our cars, and then after that, if he hit this window, she gonna be dead. She thinks somebody fell, or my wife fell on the stairs. And she think about that. She didn't notice it was a gunshot.
Police say the intended target was likely the home's previous owner, but it's not related to the current Lower Mainland gang conflict. This homeowner has a message for the gunman.
If somebody is with gang related or something, target them, not the innocent families. Because we working and paying the mortgage and everything, right?
And now the police continue their investigation. They've taken in the vehicle that was shot up, the note left behind, as well as surveillance video from this home, all as evidence. Meanwhile, Chris, the homeowner, says he's not sure as of now whether him and his family will continue to live here, but so far tonight, they do not feel safe living in this home.
That's how it ends. So that's a pretty nuts story. Again, this is one where I watched a video that you get to see, how you get to see the video, and it's just, again, a hand with a pistol, just boom, 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 boom. But they the cameraman who did the news video or whatever walks around the outside of the home, and it's just bullets everywhere, like windows smashed, gunfire like crazy. But it seems to be just a case of mistaken identity.
Yeah,
Luckily,
it's
no one was
a
killed.
case of mistaken identity. It's like, how long did the article say? How long since that singer, lived there?
Well, it wasn't even the singer. It was a friend of the singer's.
Oh, okay. It was a friend of the singer's. Okay.
And the article didn't get to. I read up a bit about this kind of beef or this feud that's going on. And there was a note left at the door of the house, and the note basically threatened the singer and his friends. So it appears that whoever lived in this house before the current owner was a friend of this famous singer, and someone must be out to get them, I guess. But the homeowner that was interviewed with the last name Garcha, who lives there now, they bought the place in September, so 5 months ago. So presumably the friend lived there.
Not that long ago, I guess.
No, but it's a pretty awful scare, especially in a new house. Although like 5 months sounds like a bit of time, but if it's a place they just moved into, they probably still have stuff in boxes in some rooms after 5 months. But man, that's not a very warm welcome.
I have it after 10 years. Most of my stuff is still in boxes.
Yeah. I will tell you, I can relate to a few aspects of the story. One is the home I live in now. Felt all safe, and I felt protected with my family in this house. And then one night in October, probably 4 years ago, we had been living in the house like 4 months or something. And I know it was October because I had went and bought at Walmart. I bought a bunch of chips to give out to the trick-or-treaters, but I never thought to bring them out of the trunk of my car. I just had them sitting in the car. And one morning, we got up to go to work and went out in the car. And when I sat in the car, I noticed, like, the first thing I noticed was that the glove box was open, in the front of the car. And I was like, that's kind of weird. And I like shut it and didn't think anything of it, went to start the car. And then my car notified me that my trunk was open. And I like, what the hell? So I got out and went around and looked at the trunk, and someone had went in my car, opened the trunk, and took all the chips. The only thing they stole in the car was all the Halloween treats I had bought.
Yeah, sorry about that.
You know what? It sounds stupid, but I was so upset because it's just the idea of someone coming that close and going through my stuff. And I had just moved here. So I was like, are they going to break in? Are they going to kill me? What will they do to me if I'm asleep?
Yeah, car break-ins are really common. They don't bother me. The first time it happened where I woke up in the morning, there was one neighborhood that I lived in one time where it was really common. They didn't do anything but just kind of look for spare change and whatever was kind of quickly kind of available in the dash or whatever. And the first time I was like, oh, my car door is kind of open, because they won't slam the car door shut after they open it.
That makes sense,
because it
right?
makes noise, right? So they quietly open it. They just look to see what's kind of in eyesight, grab it, and then just gently close the car door over, but not totally shut it, because they can't do that without slamming it.
Yeah.
So the first time it happened, I was like, oh my God, someone was gone through my car, because the glove box was open and all this. And then the second time it happened, and I'm like, oh, it happened again. And then the third time I was like, this is just normal. And it's just people, they walk by, they see what car doors are open, what ones are left open, they try them all. They're not looking to hurt anybody. They're just going through and very petty crime,
Yeah. In my case, though, what they took was, you know what I mean by the big box of chips? They took 3 of
for
those.
Halloween, yeah.
Yeah. So it's not heavy, but it's a big box. So I can almost picture someone at 4 a.m. running down the street with 3 big boxes of chips. It's
Halloween chips are hard to find the closer you get to Halloween.
Yeah, this was a little close to Halloween, so I guess I should.
So I know, when I've forgotten to buy chips, and it's the day before Halloween, you can't find Halloween chips anywhere in stores the day before Halloween.
So
they start getting rid of them the days leading up to Halloween. They start bringing in the Christmas stuff.
Mm-hmm. Either way, it was an invasion of my privacy.
Yeah, but either way, I support the person who took your chips because you got to get your Halloween chips.
Yeah.
The day
I
before.
also, since then, I've got a video doorbell, which like
Did
senses
you get it
motion.
for free from a green
It
energy
cost me
company?
13 grand. Yeah. Got a good
Yeah,
furnace
yeah.
too. No, it was actually a Christmas gift from my mother, and I love it. It's really changed my life. It's a Ring doorbell. I think it's amazing. It makes me feel way more secure than my like security system that costs like $30 a month or something does. Because
Yeah.
when someone comes near my door, I get a text and I get a video of it, and the video is saved on the cloud. So if they do kill me, there's a pretty good chance they'll be found. But what was really weird was one day, actually, I have a video of this on my YouTube channel. The name of the video is called "A Generic Bad Guy Tries to Break Into My Car," I think is what I called it. Because it's, I woke up one morning and it's like, you have one notification on my screen. And I like click it. It was my doorbell being like, it captured motion at like 4 a.m. And so you click it and it plays the video of the motion. And it was like, it looked like it looked like a friend was pranking me. Because it's like, it's this big guy. He's like hunched over. He has a balaclava on. In shorts, and he like really quickly like walks up to my car with this weird walk, and he just tries all the doors and then walks off. But it's just, if you asked a kid in like grade 3, like draw a bad guy who would break into your car, like they would draw a caricature of this guy.
Well, that
he
means
didn't get
you were probably his very first crime.
Yeah.
And so he was nervous and he was getting ready he's like, I'm going to go out and do it. I'm going to go commit a crime today. It's my first one. I want to look the part. They're going through the closet, finding anything that makes you look like a criminal. And then they went out and you were their first. And that's special. And you should be very, honored that was his first.
I should have left the door open for him in my car. I got one more kind of personal anecdote that connects to this case of mistaken identity. The theme of the show is stories that involve my mom. This is a really weird one. So I was my mom has this house. She's owned it for probably 4 or 5 years at this point. So it's not like a new house by any means. We're at her house for supper, I don't know, 6 months ago or something. And right after I left, my mom texts me and she's like, Jordan, like, you wouldn't believe what's going on here. Like, you should come back. And I wrote her, what's going on? And basically, right after I left, someone was pounding on her door. So she looks on her video doorbell, because she also has one on her phone. And she sees like this older lady, probably 60 years old, with 2 big grocery bags in her hands, kind of in a car. Her car is like in my mom's driveway, and she's like banging on the door. She's trying to get the door open. She's fiddling with keys. And my mom's first thought is like, oh, she must like meaning to go to like a friend's house and is at the wrong address or something. So my mom goes to open the door to say like, yeah, what's going on? When my mom opens the door, the lady like barges right in saying like, what are you doing in my house? I'm going to call the police. Get out of my house. And she walks like into my mom's house, down the hall, into the living room. And she's like, where's my furniture? What did you do with my furniture? I'm going to call the police. What are you doing in my house? On and on like this. And so my mom and her partner are trying to calm her down, being like, you must be at the wrong house, dear. Like, this is our house. You can sit down. We can help you. What's going on? And the lady she wouldn't calm down. And she said, you know what? I don't know who you are or what you're doing, but I'm going next door to Gloria's and I'm going to call the police. And it kind of struck my mom weird, because my mom's like, my next door neighbor's name is Gloria. Like, how would this lady know that? So while my mom was talking to the lady, my mom's partner quickly went next door and was like, Gloria, like, there's a lady at our house and, I think she may know you. Come see. So Gloria and my mom's partner come back to the house. When Gloria walks in the house, immediately she recognizes this lady as the prior owner, the woman my mom bought the house from like 5 years prior. And the lady's like, Gloria, what are these people doing here? And Gloria had to explain to her, like, no, don't you remember? Like, you sold this house after Jim died. You sold the house and moved in with your daughter. So needless to say, this lady had probably like Alzheimer's or something. And she eventually calmed down and told the story of like, I've been lost all day driving around, couldn't find my way home. And they ended up calling the police, because they couldn't reach anyone in her family. They didn't know what to do with her. And the police helped locate her son in Ontario. And oh man, this whole big thing.
Wow.
But eventually she was taken away and taken care of. But it's pretty nuts,
Wow.
eh? Yeah. Anyway.
Well, it's one thing, in the case of your mom situation where this lady thinks she's in going back to her house or whatever. You would think before you would shoot up an enemy's house, you would be certain that the enemy still lived there.
Yeah, because you're taking a pretty significant risk, and then also putting the video up online of you shooting up the house. You would just like that just seems like a crime that you would get caught doing if you're going to be that brazen and stupid. But yeah, I don't know. It's pretty. Whatever has happened, gangs in India must be pretty hardcore.
No, when you watch the video, it's pretty shocking. It's pretty.
You've seen it. You've seen it then.
Yeah, I saw the video, and it's
it's no care for human life because they're just unloading.
Oh yeah, there's no kind of skill in the shooting. It's just scattering bullets. It's not like it's a sniper here that's kind of being precise. It's
no,
just bullets flying everywhere. Like somebody walking by could have been hit, a neighbor could have been hit. It's it's unbelievable that it happened, and like the fact that the person they were trying to shoot moved out several months ago. It's just. You would think that they would have. Are you sure they still live here before you pull the trigger?
Yeah, but luckily no one was hit. Although in the article I read, they said like the family matriarch, the grandmother who lived in the house with the rest of the family, she was laying on a couch and there was a bullet hole in the window that was like right next to her. Like it was pretty close to hitting her. But yeah, it's a stupid crime, a pointless crime, but it is weird. Like it's a weird thing to have happened. I just hope, I don't know if TikTok can help them figure out who this person was or whatever. But yeah, someone shouldn't be on the streets that's running around like and doing crazy stuff like that. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's a little much.
Yeah. We got one last story that we saved for the end, and that's because, like, I guess this gets political because it involves the Queen of Canada. It involves the controversial protests in Ottawa, which I don't ever like to talk about because there's very few topics as divisive as Ottawa protests, masks, truckers, the far right, the far left, Nazis, Antifa, all these different words just make people go crazy. But there is one kind of aspect of the story that I think is interesting, and it's relevant for this show because it's kind of an update on a past story. So, Aaron, do you know much about the Queen of Canada, the QAnon Queen?
I had never heard of her until you sent me this story earlier today.
Oh, really? Okay.
So then I Googled her name because you were saying you couldn't really find a good article about this particular story. So I just Googled her name just so I could understand who it was. And I was like, I didn't know that there was a Queen of Canada that I was to be subservient to. That was news to me.
She will have you know that she's queen. I did an episode about her a while back, so people who follow my show will likely know the story of Ramona Didulo. And she is a middle-aged woman, I believe of Filipino descent, who lives in what looks like a rooming house in Victoria, British Columbia, or a boarding house kind of thing in Victoria, BC, is at least what it looks like. Her life before, say, 2 years ago, there's very little known about her. But for whatever reason, about 2 years ago, she started making videos and putting them up on YouTube where initially she was kind of planning to start a political party, and she wanted this political party to, help change Canada, basically. She would publish these videos and they'd get, 17 views, 23 views. So virtually unknown. But for whatever reason, an influential person within the QAnon community, which you probably know what QAnon is. It's like an online kind of conspiracy kind of culture community, mainly based out of the US, but all around the world. For whatever reason, an influential person in that world shared a video that she had posted and seemed to kind of like vouch for her as being an important person who's well connected. So her 17 video views per video almost immediately went up to like, 15,000, 25,000. And so did, as her views increased, so did kind of the things that she was saying. And rather than starting a party or leading a political party, this narrative kind of developed where this sort of shadow government have arrested a lot of the elite, assassinated, the monarchy, arrested Trudeau. They put Trump in power in the US, and they made her the queen of the Kingdom of Canada. So her videos went from I'm starting a political party to I am the leader of Canada and I denounce this. This is no longer allowed in Canada. And it continued to go on, and she continued to gain followers until it really got scary when she was announcing things like her punishment for vaccinating children. I'm going to play you a short clip just for people who don't know her. She would make these videos, and she never made public appearances. She would just post a video online sharing her message, and her followers, which she has tons of that are devout believers that she is the Queen of Canada, will share her posts and her videos.
Yeah, because they even go out and give people tickets on her behalf, right?
She started a program of issuing cease and desist letters for people who are claiming to represent Canada. So that would be people who claim to have medical licenses in Canada. She says, no, that's the old Canada. You need to be licensed by us. People who work in law enforcement, police. She was instructing her followers to issue cease and desist letters to warn them to stop doing and claiming a representation to Canada, because if they don't, when her militia forms, which she was planning to form, they're all going to be arrested. Here's in that kind of narrative of what's going to happen when her militia forms. One of those videos is she's explaining what's going to happen to people who are giving vaccinations to children, and this is kind of frightening.
Do not underestimate my resolve as the head of state and commander-in-chief of the Republic when it comes to protecting these children and youth, because you will be put through Nuremberg trial for crimes against humanity. And once you have been convicted of crimes for harming the children and youth of this republic, at the firing squad, military firing squad, you will receive not one, but 2 bullets on your forehead for each child that you have harmed as a result of injecting this experimental vaccine.
So you get the gist. So it's some pretty like hardcore, intense stuff. And she's even gone as far as to seemingly instruct her people who have she sends out videos and these weird messages through an encrypted chat that her community communicates in. She was saying anyone who is capable of defending, our Kingdom of Canada, she referred to it as duck hunting material. If you have duck hunting materials, we need duck hunters. A lot of people believe that to mean if you have weapons, we need, fighters.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious.
It kind of went on from there. Right around the same time, the RCMP did arrest her for a short period of time and released her. And it doesn't seem like she had charges, but she, again, when I say she has a following, you can find videos on YouTube of her followers going to police stations and hand delivering these cease and desist orders aggressively, saying like, you're going to get what's coming to you. There's a new Queen of Canada, and and she's coming for you, sort of thing. So it's devout believers. But here's where the update comes in: is everything that's going on in Ottawa right now, a lot of these kind of bizarre people like her want or feel obliged to take part in it. Again, Ramona Digiulo has never made like public addresses, public appearances. Until this past weekend was her first major public appearance. Her and a huge legion of her supporters took RVs from British Columbia, from Victoria, BC, made their way to Ottawa. They gathered outside of, I guess, is it called Parliament? They gathered outside, all with they have these purple flags that they wave, and they're basically a giant cult, is how it appears. But they gathered there. She walked in with security from an RV, gave a speech that was all about, you know, what's going to change in Canada, and it was mainly just a kind of conspiracy theory talk about, you know, we're not going to allow, you know, pedophile human trafficking within the government or the harvesting of children's organs. You know, this sort of thing is what she talked about in her speech. And then they proceeded to burn Canadian flags, like what we know as the Canadian flag, because again, in the narrative of, in the mythology of her followers' beliefs, is that is like the old Canada that was corrupt and doesn't exist anymore.
I have removed Justin Trudeau and his corporation government last year. But it seems he didn't get the memo or it was ignored. So I'll take that as that he has refused to voluntarily leave and continue to masquerade as the government of we the people of the Kingdom of Canada. Because he has refused to leave, I came to Ottawa with we the people of the Kingdom of Canada to remove Justin Trudeau from office. So Justin and all of his ministers, here's the second memo.
Hello, listeners, and sorry to pull you out of the episode like this, but I want to take a moment and let you know about something special I just posted to the premium feed. My good pal Christy Lee of the Canadian True Crime podcast and I have collaborated on a premium feed exclusive series called Canadian Gothic. Our plan is to record an episode on the first of every month in which we discuss recent dark news coming out of Canada. Think of it as Keep Canada Weird's creepy and disturbing sibling. If this series seems interesting to you, the first Canadian Gothic episode will be posted to the premium feed shortly. You can find it and a lot of other premium content at patreon.com/nighttimepodcast. And as a gentle reminder, all annual premium feed subscribers receive a nighttime swag pack by mail. So if you want to support the show and give yourself more of it, go to patreon.com/nighttimepodcast and subscribe to the premium feed. Now let's get back to the episode. The videos that are going around of this public address are pretty wild because as she's burning the flags and stuff, you can hear people who don't know what's going on saying, you know, you can't be doing that. Why are you doing that? You're going to make us look bad. And her followers are like, no, you don't understand. Like, that's not the Canadian flag anymore. But it's pretty wild, and I think it gives a taste of, I don't want to give too much commentary on like Ottawa and what's going on there, but it certainly gives a taste of some of the type of people who will try to attach themselves to a movement. And with Ramona Digiulo, that certainly appears to be the case. And I think the most notable part of all this is the fact that she made a public appearance, and she will, for people who know her, and know about her and follow her story, that's a really big deal.
Yeah. It's, I don't know. It's the power of social media like, someone like this would, 50 years ago would never have gained a following outside their front porch, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But the fact that anybody, can go online and have a voice about whatever they want and whatever they believe in. And this is what happens when everybody has a voice.
Well,
and I don't know. I'm just finding like the danger of social media now and how quickly dangerous ideas can spread like wildfire it's disturbing to me. I just think that Facebook, and as much as I love YouTube, and all of it's got to go.
Well, here's another issue though, is with social media, I think, and especially in a story like this where it's something that's that crazy, like I think I can, talking amongst hopefully a lot of like-minded people, we can all agree she is not the legitimate queen of Canada, and there's some kind of mass hysteria surrounding her community or whatever. But what I think can happen is you take social media, like the mainstream ones like Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. If you're on there spouting, harmful, crazy nonsense, you end up getting like kicked and banned, and those people may accuse them of being censored or whatever. So they will leave those platforms and find a platform that accepts them, which is usually one that doesn't have censorship. It's not as common, and it's a bit more fringe, which is like what happened with Ramona Digiulo and her followers. They found a home on a kind of an encrypted chat app where it's only her and her followers in a large room together, because they can't do what they do there on the mainstream ones. But because of that, because of this kind of not being accepted in the mainstream ones, no longer are they going to be subject to kind of criticism of the masses who are just passing by and seeing what they're doing. Instead, they're on like a little island of the internet that becomes this incredible echo chamber where their ideas seem normal, because they're only talking to other kind of people who are buying into it. And it seems like they have support because there's 70,000 of them that are agreeing with each other. So
right,
it kind of, and
that's that's what a lot of social media becomes these days, because you start only following and clicking on articles of certain content, and then your social media tool adapts to that as well, like, and just shows you the things that you're going to respond to, which are, wild ideas or crazy conspiracies. And then they justify each other.
Mm-hmm.
And then they do things like this, and then they start to organize, and then they start to get in people's faces and hand out cease and desist orders. And I don't even know what leaving the house accomplishes anymore for anyone.
Well, staying in is just as bad if you got the internet there. What we need is to go back to like hunter-gatherer lifestyles. But that idea of kind of a more extreme group forming as it's no longer welcome on a mainstream platform, that's kind of the tail end of what actually happens too. Because the other thing is, like you talked about, these social media sites have an algorithm in the background that looks at what you interact with, and it feeds you more things like that. So it could happen. Let's say I am really into guitars. So if there's a picture of guitar, I may click on it, or a video about a guitar, I may watch it. So YouTube or Facebook or whatever, they know I'm into guitars, so they keep showing me guitar stuff. And now all of a sudden, I just assume everyone on the internet collects vintage Gibson guitars, because that's what like my internet is. But I think if I was into flat Earth conspiracies, the same kind of thing would happen. And all of a sudden, all these social media platforms are just kind of presenting me with this kind of version of the world that I want to interact with. But if it was a more extreme belief, I may instead find myself, pushed down to this kind of community that's like, we're hopping off here because we're no longer welcome. Come on to this place where we can be as extreme as possible. And I think that's like with a lot of groups, that's kind of what happens. But anyway, I guess keeping Canada weird can be an ugly job. We can have the nice stories that kind of make you laugh, but then you got a bigger issue like this, and this is probably over our heads. I don't know if we're going to solve the internet.
It's part of such a larger issue that I find is what's completely destroying society today is how out of control social media has gotten. And
But who polices it? Or do we leave it to the social media sites?
We just get rid of it completely.
Well, that's not going to happen.
I know it's not, but I just don't know any other way that you would deal with it other than to completely destroy it.
Yeah, so that's one option. We could completely destroy it. That's probably an exciting option. The other is you can leave the social media sites to handle it on their own, which all they care about is clicks and likes and all that and interaction, so they can serve ads. Or you can have the government get involved and regulate it, and of course that comes with its problems too.
Yeah, nobody would want that. That's the last thing you want.
But none of these are
that's
good
why
options.
to me, like, there's no any of these solutions will simply make it worse, turn it into something else that is worse than what it is. So to me, there's only one solution, and that is to burn it to the ground.
Without anyone getting hurt.
Well, this is a digitally, of course.
Okay, you're not calling for violence.
I am I will never call for violence, and I will never support violence. I simply am saying social media should be just taken away. It's gone too far.
You've heard it here.
Yeah, it's over for social media. It's done.
Well, I think we finally found kind of the thing that is truly going to make us like old people, like I can be like, I remember when we didn't have cell phones and we had to go home and use a phone and it had a wire to the wall. But that wasn't like intense enough. But now it's like when we're talking to kids about like the time before social media and that and how the world was better before like this thing that defines society right now for the most part. Yeah. People in the chat are raging against you. Aaron won't take TikTok away. So you made some enemies tonight.
I know. There's all the TikTok supporters are going to be in my email for the next number of weeks, I think.
You might as well just shut it down.
I know. I don't have TikTok. I got rid of Facebook, and that's been awesome. I still have Instagram, so I'm still kind of holding on to a little bit of social media, but I don't do a lot on there.
I find that the biggest thing that I've done that has changed my experiences with social media is using muted words, especially on Twitter. I don't know if I told you about this, but on Twitter,
you were saying,
Okay, I tell everybody about it because I feel like at the door-to-door like Bible salesman or whatever, where I just feel like I found the solution to so many problems and it's so simple. But anyway,
here's the thing that I like about not having Facebook now is that I'm not watching my friends scream at each other anymore.
Why was happening on your Facebook?
Well, it's just Facebook. I find like it's just people fighting with each other constantly. Like
really? I don't
arguing
see
and arguing and arguing about whatever issue of the day or whatever,
Okay.
It's just a lot of just screaming, and it's
that doesn't bother me as much because I don't my friends aren't arguing as much. But there are people arguing.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's the people that I associate with. Maybe is
just angry. You're into
They're
angry
just all
people.
political, angry people that are just always right. Apparently.
Yeah, the politics stuff drives me crazy. But what really bugs me is like the low quality memes and the poorly thought out memes, where it's just like a low resolution photo with like a bad joke in front of it, or just like a one line joke, but they choose this kind of font that's just ugly on your eyes. That kind of stuff just bugs me. But anyway, let's that's not about That's not about keeping Canada weird. Those people are destroying our country and our freedom.
Yeah, and our specific freedom, Jordan and Aaron's.
Yeah. Well, let's wrap this up. When we come back next week, I think we're going to have a bit more defined segments, provided Nova Scotia Power can get off their and keep Aaron's power going so he can use the internet and his mics. I'm hoping we're going to have a UFO update next week. I have something on the go that could get interesting in that regard. So I'm likely going to have Chris Rutkowski back to break some stuff down with us. Anything weird or unusual on the horizon for you? Anything you're working on? Anything that's come across across your desk?
Well, I've been holding this pen for the video watchers here who are watching a live feed through most of the episode here tonight, just so that it looks more like a news desk kind of thing. Breaking news could happen anytime. I'm always kind of working on the stories. So I'm just kind of wondering, I want people's feedback, of those who have watched the video. If the pen kind of subconsciously maybe gave you the feeling of a Larry King live type thing, or
the pen is basically
that kind
like
of
a suit.
News discussion kind of thing. So the addition of the pen into the YouTube live stream.
Yeah, I think it's working. I could definitely tell in your performance tonight. It felt like that pen in your hand might as well be a $5,000 suit on your back. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it's the same effect.
So that's I'll bring it back if next week if it works out.
All right. Well, let's wrap this up. Until next week, you want to try to go out on try to make up the same closing again?
Oh, we're gonna make up our tagline at the end.
Yeah.
Okay.
Until next week. Yeah.
Till next week.
Be good to each other on the internet.
And love and compliment Jordan.
I want to thank you for joining Aaron and I for our Keep Canada Weird discussion. But before we part, I have some thanks. First, a big thanks to Aaron for sharing an evening with me and with the listeners of Nighttime. But most importantly, I have a massive thank you to everyone who listens to Nighttime, as without your interest and your support, the show would be as pointless as it would be impossible. But with that said, keeping the show alive is and has always been an uphill battle. So if you want to help take a bit of weight off the show's back, please listen on the premium feed. Not only does it make the show possible, it'll give you more of each topic than you find here on the free feed, as I add exclusive content regularly. So for about the price of a cup of coffee, give the show a hand and give yourself more of it at patreon.com/nighttimepodcast. And on the topic of the premium feed, let me thank the newest subscribers. Kim, Neil, Kevin, Peter, and Gordy, thank you for going premium. And for anyone else out there who wants to support the show but can't do it via a premium feed subscription, you can give me a big hand by simply sharing this episode on social media, letting like-minded friends know what we're doing here, and sending in a voice memo to contribute to the show. You can give story ideas or send the voice memos via nighttimepodcast.com/contact, or you can find me on social media. I use Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and I'm often live on the Nighttime Podcast YouTube channel. So until next time, take care of each other, hug your loved ones tight, and let me know if you see anything weird.
The Nighttime Podcast is written, hosted, and produced by Jordan Bonaparte. Copyright Jordan Bonaparte.
Beautiful, serene, majestic. The true North. Strong and weird.